I found it. Adam, you need to be quiet. Are you filming? Hi everyone, I'm Saar. Adam, if you fly over here while I'm recording, I swear to God. This video is going to be a critical reflection on Mike Newell's 2003 film Mona Lisa's Smile. This film is set in the 1953-1954 academic year and follows free-thinking academic Catherine Watson as she begins to teach history of art to the young women at the conservative and traditional Wellesley College. I'm never going to say it right. It tells the story of how Watson's new ideas on the roles of women subvert the ideals of the society around her, and how the young women she teaches are impacted or shifted by the influence of their bold feminist teacher, at a time when women weren't expected to have any agency of their own.
I think she's fabulous.
I used to watch this film when I was little, so this film was really instrumental in developing my ideas on what feminism was. So I'm going to be discussing why this film is important as a feminist film, rather than whether it's good or bad. Let me give you a little history lesson to start off. In the 1950s, it was a common social view that since feminism of the early 19th century had achieved their goal, which was the right to vote in 1920, women had thus achieved their goal and therefore feminism was over. That was it. We did that, what more do you want? Kind of attitude, which is not how it works. This caused a lot of contention over the issue, especially since women were now coming forward stating that more subjugation and inequality came from within the home.
There was all these rules and regulations on how to be a good housewife and, you know, to always pretend you're happy and cover it all and just put on that smile. And so that's like the thing, this repressiveness that we're trying to break from. Coffee?
This radical feminist statement caused quite a lot of backlash, as the commonly screamed back argument was that feminism is against the home, feminism is against family, it's going to corrupt all of our family ideals. Which was not the case. They were merely kind of pointing out that, hey, I'm oppressed in my home because I don't have choices and stuff. This is where second wave feminism kind of really comes into play in around the 1960s. For a full explanation of how that ideal all kind of came about, check out the Saar concept video that I've linked below. Real nifty. As I said before, this film is set in the 1950s, before second wave feminism was a really big thing. So why was my history lesson important, you ask? Because this film sets up the time right beforehand, showing what these women are wanting to go against. It's also important to note that it sets up these women as being quite involved in the second wave movement, as they're consistently pushing the status quo of what was considered the ideal woman or the housewife. The housewife ideal is something that I'm pretty sure we can picture fairly clearly. It's perfect wives living quiet and obedient lives at the bidding of their husbands and children, and always wearing high heels, despite the housework. Practicalities were not a thing in the 1950s, apparently. It's kind of a nightmare vision to us now, as we can reflect on, you know, the oppressive nature of it all. The Stepford Wives film also really stepped up that fear, both in the 1975 original and in the 2004 remake. So much so that the term Stepford wife is now a colloquial term for women that are so perfectly obedient so as to seem like a robot. But in this film, it is the society's expectation of its women, even those that are considered the academic cream of the crop. I think it's important to note that the director of this film is a man, Mike Newell. While I don't think that there's anything intrinsically wrong with a man directing a feminist film, in this case it creates a really interesting power dynamic between the director and the actors, and it also then translates into how he envisioned the film as a whole.
In 1953 and 54, women were perceived through the eyes of men. That's just the way it was. And so I think that there might be something really fascinating about the fact that there's all of these actresses who are very opinionated and specific and thinking as well as feeling people, being manipulated and moved by a man who's also very powerful and interesting and smart.
Damn, I love how perceptive Maggie Gyllenhaal is. Additionally, it's key to understand that as this film is part of the historical fiction genre, it also acts as a collective memory of what we as society remember of the 1950s. While the film itself, simply by its narrative, could be seen as a really powerful constructive narrative for the time that it was created in, the costuming and the music are also very era-specific and help to enhance the time period softness, I guess? Is it just me, or does everything from the 1950s just feel real soft? I mean, if we're ignoring the overwhelming patriarchal dominance, racism, homophobia. Yeah, it wasn't a great time. Yeah, okay, maybe it's just soft because, you know, big skirts and jazz. Mike Newell also hits us pretty hard with the whole constructed memory shtick by using era-specific advertisements throughout the film. He has our characters feature in making happy-go-lucky ads about the modern educated woman. We get a reel of actual advertisements and footage from the 1950s in the credit sequence. We even get a fabulous scene of Catherine Watson screaming at her students about feminine portrayal in advertisements, or as she calls it, modern art.
What does that mean?
While I absolutely love this film, just as it is, it's also really important that we acknowledge that it's really super specific to high-class, white, wealthy women. I mean, these women were so much better off than so many other people in this era. I mean, at least they could go to college or school, like, at all. All I'm saying is that this is an extremely specific narrative, and we have to acknowledge that. Now to the main reason that I absolutely love this film, the characters. First up, let's talk about Catherine Watson, played by the wonderful Julia Roberts. She is presented to us as this ideal woman to our modern eye. She's made up with brains what she lacked in pedigree. She didn't come to Wellesley to fit in, she came to make a difference.
This is Catherine Watson.
Oh, wow! In the flesh. You know, she has not shut up about you.
Oh, stop!
She is stubborn, forthright, kind, and unyielding. She moved across the country to follow her dreams, leaving her longtime partner behind. She never put a man's needs above her own, and is proud of her accomplishments. She is, in short, a textbook feminist of this era. With our modern understanding, we look at her with pride and sympathy, wanting her to achieve her goals within this film. We kind of expect that by the end of the film that the misogynists will fail or will change their mind, and that our strong-willed feminist will succeed. What I think is more important is that Catherine learns to change her idea on what makes a worthy life.
Well, won't you regret never marrying?
Well, there's still time.
Well, I guess I assume that I will at some point. I'm just not going to plan my life around it.
Catherine's choices for her life are what we look at and see as empowering. Career-driven, not tied down, never taking no for an answer.
Half of them are already married and the other half, oh, just give it a month or so. I mean, it's really only a matter of time. That's what they're doing here, right? They're just biding their time until somebody proposes.
Well, what was really important about all these choices is simply that she got to make a choice. That's really what feminism at its core is. With the way that Catherine has tried to shape these girls, particularly Joan, what we are actually seeing is her taking away, or at the very least, devaluing the choices of others.
You didn't come to Wellesley to help people find their way. I think you came to Wellesley to help people find your way.
She actually spends most of the time either hating or snickering at any traditional wants or desires.
They match.
Sweet.
And why not get married as freshmen? That way, you could graduate without actually ever stepping foot on campus.
Catherine's attitude slowly begins to change after Joan actively chooses to become a housewife.
You could bake your cake and eat it too. It's just wonderful.
We're married. Cook.
Catherine begins to see the girls as women who have choice and agency of their own, and that she does not need to save them. For me, Catherine's journey tells us that feminism at its core means the importance of choice, both having it and respecting the choices of others. Stop barking. Now to our complex and you hate to love her until you love her character, her name is Betty. Betty Warren, played by Kirsten Dunst. Betty is introduced to us as our classic housewife stereotype, engaged, proper, and eloquent. She also acts as our main point of access into the expectations of our world.
Women like Catherine Watson don't get married because they choose not to get married.
No woman chooses to have a life without a home.
She's extremely outspoken, often at the detriment of those around her.
Don't encourage her, he's only escorting Connie as a favor.
Whoa.
Why are you like this?
Yeah, we kind of hate her. She acts as the main conflict for our protagonist, Catherine, so we're positioned to be against her from the start.
Are you threatening me? I'm educating you.
It's only when we see Betty's relationship with her mother that we actually understand that her composure is entirely constructed.
A good wife lets her husband think that everything's his idea, even when it's not.
But I don't care if he reads it.
You will in retrospect.
The entire attitude that she has, the role that she's putting forward, was constructed by the previous generation. It's performative. While she still acts with this performative front throughout the majority of the film, we understand that it was never a conflict between Catherine and Betty. It was between them and the society's expectations. It's Betty that undergoes the most change in this film, and rightly so. Her character embodies the idea of feminine portrayal and shows how it's not until the performative nature of the housewife is dropped and societal expectations are confronted that women can truly move forward. But Betty doesn't do any of this for the sake of feminism. Betty leaves her emotionally abusive and cheating husband and effectively disowns her manipulative mother because it's what's best for her. It's personal, not political. See what I did there? Little quip. So, personal is political. Anyway. Next up, Giselle Levy, played by Maggie Gyllenhaal. Oh, okay, he's getting quiet now. No! Oh my god. Giselle is the embodiment of sexual liberation. She openly sleeps with men, often older, often married, and she doesn't let it define who she is.
I think there's something aggressive about it. And erotic.
To you, everything is erotic.
Everything is erotic. Girls.
It's definitely addressed throughout the film that it's not exactly considered what a good girl should do, but she also makes no effort to hide it. She is arguably the She is arguably the character that undergoes the least amount of change throughout the film. Her promiscuity doesn't waver, and she never stops being the quietly outspoken character that she is. She's comfortable within herself, taking criticism constantly, mostly from Betty, without actually letting it limit her choices or decisions.
Where'd you get it?
From the school nurse.
It's against the law.
Oh, honey. It's a girl's best friend.
A certain kind of girl.
Meet the last virgin bride.
She has autonomy over her own body and what she does with it, and therefore has complete control over her sexuality. She's also the one that is often providing emotional support to others, especially to Connie and Betty.
He hates you. He hates you,
Betty.
and it hurts. Ah, get off of me! Get quiet! Get off of me!
I really think, or at least hope, that it was a purposeful choice to have the sexually promiscuous character be the one that is emotionally stronger and more caring than her peers. Sex and women who enjoy it, even to this day, are often portrayed as women that are completely badass or not in tune with their emotions, and then thus having lots of sex as it's the only way that they can feel love and connection. Bullshit. Giselle is the supporter, the consoler. She experiences love and connection with these girls. And she's allowed to have sex with whoever she wants. What's not to love? And lastly, my personal favourite gal, Joan Brandwin, played by Julia Stiles. Joan's narrative was one of the biggest things that changed my understanding of feminism as I was growing up. She is gorgeous, compassionate, and smart.
President of the Poetry Society, captain of the debate team, co-captain of the tennis club, founder of the Horticulture League.
I sound like a pompous ass.
Yes,
Like, so smart. She's the one that is viewed as being the most aligned to Catherine's ideals of career above men or family, and so is pushed into applying for law school. However, we never actually ever hear from Joan if that's what she wants. We know that she has the brains and ability, but that doesn't decide ambition. It's not until Joan reveals to Catherine that she got married over the break that we actually get to see what Joan's true wants are.
It was my choice not to go. He would have supported it. I want a home, I want a family. That's not something I'll sacrifice. I know exactly what I'm doing, and it doesn't make me any less smart. You stand in class and tell us to look beyond the image, but you don't. To you, a housewife is someone who sold her soul for a Center Hall colonial. She has no depth, no intellect, no interests. You're the one who said I could do anything I wanted. This is what I want.
If I had a mic, I'd drop it. I said before that feminism is less about challenging societal expectations and more about giving women choice. And that's the choice to do whatever it is they want, including being a housewife. The housewife ideal and the life that comes with it is only ever oppressive if that's not what they choose. In Joan's case, it's entirely and completely her own, and she knows that. She stands up for the women that Catherine so easily dismisses because she just doesn't understand them. And I think that's amazing. Joan was so inspiring to me in my teenage years while I was developing my feminist identity. So much of what I was being told and the media that I was consuming was telling me that in order to be a feminist, I couldn't be feminine. I had to look and dress and talk a certain way. Somebody even once told me that I couldn't be a feminist and wear my hair down. But this film shows that being a feminist and being feminine are not exclusionary. You can be a feminist and stand up for your rights and wear a dress while doing it. Feminism to me means choice. Providing women with the choice to create and pursue the life that they want despite what society's expectations are. That's what this film taught me about feminism. Thanks for watching and be sure to check out Mona Lisa Smile. Bye.